One of the things that keeps the mind the most occupied is trying to figure things out, trying to find solutions, trying to determine what might happen or why what happened did happen. And it can keep the mind extremely busy because there's so many details to our human lives. And somehow we feel that if we figure things out, why they happen or what is going to happen, that we'll be able to relax. And yet it's the opposite. All of the thinking and figuring out things that the mind can't actually know, and even you could say it doesn't need to know, keeps not only the mind engaged, but the body and the nervous system reacting. And so we don't go into battle with this, but what we can do is we can start with what we do know, what we do know for sure. We can start exactly where we are with what we do know. So in this moment, you are sitting where you are. You may hear certain sounds in your home or outside your window. Your body is in a particular state. Your senses are registering various things. In other words, what we do know is only what is happening in this very moment. And that relates to the sensations and the senses that we're experiencing. We do know that thought is happening, but we don't actually know that those thoughts are true. And so if we start with what we do know, we need to just set aside the thinking mind. Not as an active kind of a pushing away, but more of a, let me just turn my attention towards what I do know, what I am experiencing, that I can be sure of. So you do know that you can feel the weight of your body resting down into your seat. And you can stay with that for a little bit. So the mind will jump in and say, well, I know that feeling, and then want to move to the next thing. But actually, when you allow yourself to really experience and perhaps to know more fully the sense of body resting on chair, then there are other sensations that might arise. Maybe a feeling of warmth or flow in the legs, a feeling of relaxation that begins to happen as your body registers the support from your seat. And this you do know, it's happening in this very moment. Now, any thoughts you might have about it, that's the add-on. That's what you don't actually know. That's the condition, the program mind coming in. So again, when it moves into an interpretation of what you're experiencing in this present moment, just let that go and just get really curious about, what do I actually know for sure in this moment? You do know that breath is coming in and out. You know how it feels in this moment. You can feel how it expands into certain densities in the body, how it brings the belly or the chest to life, how the coolness travels down through the sinuses. You do know that you're feeling sensations in the body that might feel more related to the gross body, sensations of tension in certain areas, maybe even pain, sensations of comfort, of relaxation. There may be sensations related to the emotional body, to the feeling body. Often these are found down the center line of the body, in the belly, the chest, the throat. And we can allow that. So we're letting our inner screen fill with reality, you could say, with what's actually happening. We're practicing. And of course, the mind's going to want to squeeze in there. And this is where we continue to practice, and where it's really helpful to be doing this together, to just leave the mind alone, because the truth is, it's always conjecture. It's always memory, imaginings, conditioning. So coming back to, what do I actually know in this moment? I may feel also even more subtle sensations related to a sense of aliveness in the body, maybe a flow, a tingling, pulsation, warmth, brightness. So gently coming back again and again to the land of senses and sensations, what I do know. How does the body respond to this type of orientation? You may find that it feels more homey in your experience, more welcoming, more settled, more connected. Even a split second of that is helpful. We want to get tastes of living in direct relationship with reality. It allows us to feel the fullness that is available to us when we let these very intelligent ways of knowing to come back online. We allow the system to align with now, this right here. And that becomes a portal to a movement that begins to happen from within. And rather than being directed by the mind, we begin to be directed by this soul flow that naturally pours through when we are aligned with what is actually happening. And slowly, this can teach the mind to let go of a task that it's taken on that is beyond its capacity. The mind is here to serve the soul, not to know things that it can't know and that it doesn't need to know. So it will adjust its function the way that it functions, rather. But it takes this coming back again and again. Perhaps you could say a love affair with what I do know. And then each moment takes care of itself. And the flow of life, which we're all part of, begins to be the momentum. For the remainder of meditation, I invite you to come back again and again and maybe even drop in the question, what do I know for sure in this moment? And it gets simpler and simpler and simpler and simpler.